Uh, and we are recording. Welcome to another weekly episode. We're going to kick off your week with our usual 5 different topics we will cover. We're going to go through your gratitude, a little bit of gratitude at the beginning here. We are also going to go through some Smacktalk prompts you can use at the beginning, middle, or end of your practice, or just with your friends and teammates. We got some media that we're focused on with our bigger theme of industriousness. Flow trigger of the week, focusing on those different elements, those preconditions that lead to more flow. And then 2 or more things that Jake and I have seen that just were interesting to us and something that caught our eye. But before that, how are we doing, buddy? Good to see you.
We're doing good. We're doing good. It's a good day.
It is a good day. Well, let's kick off with gratitude and getting good this week, air quotes, Jocko style. So we have our weekly prompts, and if this is the first time you've done gratitude, we found that it's really quite hard to say what are 3 things you're grateful for today. Well, it's Friday, as if we could record this, but it's the beginning of the week while you listen to this. We found it's really interesting to be able to come up with very unique combinations and practice getting good. So taking whatever emotion is thrown at you and finding the good in it. So, Jake, I'm going to read you these, and then you pick one that you'd like to test out. Sound good?
Okay, let's go for it.
All right. So 5 prompts, any which order. So the first one, we have a large person, not like physically large, but like somebody who's a bigger figure in your life.
Yep.
In the far past that you experience pessimism. Maybe they weren't pessimistic. Maybe you view them pessimistically, but how might that be a good thing? Number 2 is cosmic. So this is as big as you think it could possibly be in the grand scheme of things. What's a cosmic experience in the far past, you think years, decades, centuries, that brought you hope? Number 3 is a large experience in the near past that you appreciated. Number 4 is the small experience in the present that kind of mixed you up, mixed feelings about that. And the last one, ooh, this is good too. A small person, so it kind of plays a small role in the far past that it was fiery, or like kind of fired you up. Like they're kind of flash pan in going through that, and you're like, ooh, that got me going for a little bit, but it kind of went away. So which one of those hits you, or you want to take a stab at?
Well, the middle one is the easiest one. So we'll start there. Large experience in the near past. I just moved to Arizona not that long ago.
Okay.
With a lot of humans in a minivan. So that I am just by the day becoming more appreciative of, because I can't believe that we did that. I can't believe that we've adapted. It's a new climate, a new time zone, different people, new area, and it is. I just by the day, I'm so appreciative that we did it. I'm so appreciative that we were able to do it, that we survived, that we're now laying down roots and feeling like we're starting to flourish. So that's the easy big one. Do you got one while I think of a second one?
It's good. I want to pick that one. So what's something? I've not been to Arizona. I've been to Arizona once, no, twice. What's an experience you've had in Arizona that's like kind of solidified that appreciation? What was that?
Walking outside in December, January, and February is a great start.
Because where did you move from, if nobody knows?
I'm from Minnesota. Yeah, from Minnesota. So instead of it being -20, instead of it being 0 degrees, I'm walking out looking at mucky, muddy snow mixed with who knows what. I get to walk out and there's not a cloud in the sky. Things are green and brown. There's some brown. I'll admit that. It's not nearly as green as Minnesota was in the summertime, but it's just gorgeous. We can go outside. We can play sports with the kids. We can go to the zoo. We can do anything we want outside in December, January, and February. And if you're looking for specifics, we've done a couple of hikes, but we did one called Wave Cave, and you go up and the rock formation, it's like a cave, and in the cave there's like a wave formation in the rocks. That's why it's called wave cave. But you just have this beautiful vantage point. And we did some sunset hikes as well that were gorgeous. So if you're looking for specific examples, there is nothing like watching an Arizona sunset after moving from Minnesota and just being in awe and so appreciative of the world around you, how beautiful it was created, of the family around you that you get to experience it with. It is a small moment in time that I just find it hard to watch a sunset and not be filled with gratitude and appreciation of that moment and everything around you.
Yeah, the awe, like that is one of the top scoring flavors or themes or whatever of awe is nature-based awe. When you slow down to appreciate that, it's good. That's a good example. I remember it was February and you said you had a suntan and I cursed you aloud from here because we were in the thralls and I was not happy. I remember 2 months ago we still had snow and it was brutal. So for me, I'm gonna actually take one here because it relates to our theme of industriousness, but that small person in the far past, it got me fiery. So my background is, I was a bigger kid and I joined football for the first time. And it turns out when you're a bigger kid in football, good stuff happens. But I remember you don't get in trouble for pushing people around. And I'm on the O-line, but we had such great dads as our coaches. And one of our coaches, I can't even remember his name, but bless his soul, he ignited in me just a fire for crushing people. Like I remember I sweat a lot. I don't know why. It's my curse. Like I walk outside and I start sweating. I will never wear gray. You will not catch me in gray to this day because I just bleed right through it. But we were doing something, we were working really hard and I was kind of getting to my emotional corner and like sweat was in my eyes. And I told this coach that. He's like, that's awesome. Like he just lit up about how amazing it was that my eyes were burning with sweat. He's like, doesn't it feel good to work hard? And I'm like, good God. And he was a shot putter guy. He was like 6'3", about 280. And I looked up to him and, from that point on, like hard work became a thing. Like it was something to taste and to enjoy and to relish in. And I'll never forget the smile on his face. So that was good for me. And I needed that. It took me a lot longer to come full circle, but golly, I never forgot that. Such a small figure for that 1 year. And I still never threw shot put, even though he tried. But that was a good one.
I love that your impersonation of him sounds like a WWE wrestler.
He was exactly like that.
You got sweat in your eye, brother.
That's what it was. Man, if you'd had the Fu Manchu, oh, it would have been great. But I love that guy. He was part of the reason I liked football a lot. So, well, good. So take those. We'll be sure to put the link to all these slides in the chat so you don't have to remember what we said. But yeah, take those, try them out. They're great at the beginning of practice or at the end of practice. Something to send out maybe on your app like Team Reach. And just to consider, what good can you find in both those emotions, both positive, negative, or anything in between. So, all right, next section, we got a little bit of Smack Talk. So Smack Talk, your weekly dose of smack. So it's that playful banter back and forth where you debate. And this really builds your team chemistry where you can disagree respectfully. You can tease each other. You can take sides. You can make stands. And I tend to think that the team that, plays and fights together stays together in a good way. So these are 5 prompts, 5 discussion topics. And Jake, I'm going to ask you to pick one that you and I can do a little bit of smack talk on. So, all right, we're gonna start off pretty heavy. Maybe we'll do this, maybe we won't. But number 1, should college athletes be paid for their performance in terms of like the NIL, which has kind of come full circle, or should they continue to receive only scholarships and stipends? That could be fun. Number 2, so this, if you're a football fan or maybe even not, but NFL draft grades for your favorite team. So what did you think of your team's draft? Number 3 is a prediction, one of or all of the World Series champion in baseball. We're talking baseball. MVP, Cy Young, division champion. Now we are a little bit into the season, but that's okay. It's still early. What do you think? Who do you think? Number 4, I can see this one being a hit. Best pregame snack or meal. Yeah, you want to talk about what matters to athletes. Talk about their food. Number 5 is let's just go NBA champion. Who do you think it's gonna be? And whenever this airs, it just who do you think it's gonna be? And we'll go based on where we're at in this moment in time. But all right, Jake, weekly dose of smack. Which one of these would you like to smack talk about?
I'd say 1 or 4. I think 1 will probably, for the most part, agree. I think 2, 3, and 5 is just an opportunity for me to make a knucklehead of myself at this point in time.
What are you, Brian Windhorse, not making predictions? Come on. Killing me.
I can make plenty of predictions, but I'm just not very sound in them right now. Okay, that's all. All right.
That's me neither. How about, do you want to do this pregame meal or do you want to do the athletes first?
Let's go pregame meal.
Okay. Well, okay. Point me in a moment of time, like middle school, high school, college. You played college. What was kind of that recurring or even favorite pregame snack or meal?
Nothing.
No way.
Nothing. Because my stomach would be a mess from being nervous for the game. And if I eat anything, I was going to have a bathroom emergency at some point before the game that I did not want to deal with. So when I was younger, my dad would like force me to eat a breakfast or something like that. But like I would get like 2 bites of bagel or whatever down. I just couldn't. I would get so uptight before games. I just couldn't do it. Now, if the game was at night or whatever, okay, yeah, you have your breakfast, you have lunch. But like the closer we got to the game, the more adamant I was against not eating. With the caveat of high school basketball games, I'd have spaghetti. Shout out to Mrs. Herman. Okay. Mrs. Herman would make us spaghetti. And that I could do because I just wasn't nervous for basketball games because that wasn't really my sport, right? So I was short and no one was really expecting anything of me. So I just, was chill going into games. But especially, I couldn't eat before games. And I know that's not
it's Bill
correct
Russell.
It's not really the correct scientific answer, but honestly, my stomach just wouldn't do it. It rejected it.
Absolutely crazy. I don't know. It's no wonder I couldn't stay skinny. Okay, I will be the voice of reason here. Okay, so I don't know if as a kid I really had anything that I specifically would do, but being primarily a baseball player, you develop these superstitions around what you do. Maybe it's just habits of success or whatever. I will just do some I remember. All right. So one of the ones that I always liked is I didn't also like to eat very much either. My go-to is usually like a banana and peanut butter. Just great. Not the sandwich, just banana and peanut butter. Yes, you carry the whole jar of Skippy with you if you have to. We are not endorsed by Skippy, but if there's a fight, we're choosing Skippy. That was a good one. During football, it was always I had a thing for even 2 seasons, the meatball sub at Subway. Oh man, but because we play it late at night and you go at 4:00 and now we're not talking even 6 inches, we're a whole foot long. I'm not sure why. I don't know. It's just a thing. I like that. We also did lemon juice before games because it had electrolytes. So you just passed around the lemon juice shots.
Hey, big shout out to all the fast food restaurants in St. Cloud too.
Why?
Because we had a fair amount of fast food in between basketball games when we went up to St. Cloud every weekend.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough. I don't know if I could play with fast food. And then once, over the summer, you're playing different summer league stuff, basketball, baseball, staying out of trouble. It was always there was one McDonald's within like 30 miles. And when you're poor or don't have much money or scrapping together change, you're getting that double bacon cheeseburger for $1.99. That'll keep you going through a game.
Can't do that no more though. Can't do that no more.
Not no more. So Back in the day. All right. So tell us your favorite pregame snack or meal. That one could be pretty interesting. Maybe hopefully be a little healthier than St. Cloud fast food, St. Cloud, Minnesota fast food. Let's transition to the okay. Should college athletes be paid for their performance, or should they continue to receive only scholarships and stipends?
Yes, they should be paid for their performance. Actually, yes, they should be paid. I don't know that I would ever put it paid for their performance, but they should be paid for the value that they are bringing to said university. And that's not equal, which might be controversial. But in the real world, you get paid for the value that you bring. That's what payment is. You bring value. We exchange your expertise, your ability for USD, right? That's what you're doing. I think college athletes should do that. In fairness, I think before social media, before television contracts, before all of that, before these kids are famous by the time that they're 16 in whatever sport that they're doing, the university brought the kids value, both from an educational standpoint, from a spotlight standpoint. If we're talking really high level D1, we're talking possible avenues to professional sports. I think how you see they're covering now at young ages that in height that's around them, right? They're now bringing value to the university. Like, oh, now I'm going to go watch a USC basketball game because LeBron James kid is playing, right? Or, name the top, for me, right, Minnesota kids, I watched Gonzaga basketball games for a while there because they had Jalen Suggs and Chet Holmgren, who saw them in high school. So I was interested to see how they played the next level. So those kids now are bringing value to the universities as opposed to the opposite way that I think that it was. And so I think it's fair to relook at this and say, yeah, maybe we need to change it.
Yeah, the visibility aspect of before internet versus now internet across the last 25 years is very interesting. So I like that distinction. I will agree with you. Like the money aspect is not the big thing I'm concerned about. Mine is the Pat Riley peripheral distractions. I have high degree of, I don't know if you want to pick sympathy or empathy. To manage a portfolio like that at that age, if it becomes something that's detrimental to their mental health and psyche, I am adamantly against it. This is probably my boldest take, is that I would rather them not get paid and be mentally healthy than I would for them to get paid. And that's hard for me to say because I think they deserve it. And I get what you're saying. But if you made me pick though, because the more you have, like they've even shown that kids on scholarship have more anxiety and sometimes they even perform worse because they're trying to play up to these expectations. And is it really fair to have those expectations at 18, 19, 20? Like, you already have to go to school. You have to go to your game. You don't have any time to do this. And now you're trying to manage a brand that's you. That's hard. Maybe I don't know. I'd love to talk to somebody at a bigger university to say, okay, what are you doing to help them manage this? But if a kid does not have a support system, it is a recipe for destruction. And so I would hope that the colleges would have like a nil director that would give some wisdom, like kind of like a financial advisor. I don't want it to be all about money, but like, how can you offload all of this for as long as you can, maybe until you get to the pros? Like, your job is to play your sport and go to school and recover. And that's about it. And if it becomes a thing where it hurts them in any way beyond just physical or mental or emotional, I would say I'm out. So
yeah, I totally understand that argument. For me, I would say instead of taking the opportunity away from them to capitalize on the value that they are bringing, I'm totally on board with, well, then can we as a university, can we as a local community, whether that's their religious community, that's their school community, come around them and then fill that gap in where they're coming into this new situation? I mean, it's not just sports that we're seeing this. Now we're seeing these young kids getting into the stock market. They're getting into cryptocurrencies. They're getting into a lot of different things that young people didn't have access to before, and they're finding ridiculous amounts of success, right? I mean, they're becoming millionaires almost overnight.
Yep.
And so I think this is even a bigger societal picture of, how are we coming into this gap? Because I think it's completely fair to say that these kids aren't ready for that kind of money and that kind of success and all of the things, the distractions, the temptations that come with it. And so instead of taking that opportunity away from them, can we brainstorm to come alongside them and fill that gap in and have a mature presence there to walk them through all of the success that they're finding?
Yeah, this is a business opportunity. We need like Aesop's fables for nil. It's not if you should do or not. It's like, how do you do it well? Like, here's a not to do. Here's a to do. And I don't want there to be case studies of, people imploding. I think if you've earned that and you've gotten the talent, good for you, but do good with it. Do good for yourself. Do good for others. Seems like common sense, but I don't think there's a lot of that sometimes. All right. Well, we're on to media. And so what we're watching as we explore our theme under Wooden's Pyramid of Success as of this recording is the theme of industriousness. And what I'm going to check out this weekend, buddy, is this it's a documentary from GoRuck. So the backpacking company, they have what they call the world's toughest challenge, the standard. So they're trying to get people to quit. And it's this documentary putting this, I forget which number it is, but this particular group through the rounds across, I think it's like 48 hours. It's a ridiculous challenge, but the ability to see how much you can endure, like how much suffering you can endure, and how do you do that? Like across, I mean, I know that people do these endurance feats, David Goggins style or triathlons, but I'm really excited to dig into this and to see what we can learn about work and about working hard, about putting one foot in front of the other and what it takes to make it through this big type of Misogi challenge. So that's what I'm excited about. It's gonna be fun.
Cool.
Go ahead.
What's up?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. I recently watched the movie Champions with Woody Harrelson, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but Woody Harrelson is a basketball coach, a professional basketball coach that gets fired for pushing. He's an assistant, pushes the head coach. They fire him. He's drinking his sorrows away, gets a DUI, and they sentence him. Part of his community service is coaching a special needs adult basketball team. And obviously he goes begrudgingly, right, and has all these preconceived notions and thoughts, and he's always looking out for himself. But over time, over the course of the movie, he learns he changes. I don't want to give too much away, but he changes. In terms of being topical, right, the adversity that he viewed he was going through, right. First, as an assistant coach, right, the head coach wouldn't listen to him. Well, the coach is never listening to me. I deserve better than this, right? To the DUI, right? He actually escaped jail time to go do community service, and the judge sentenced him and specifically says your community service is going to be coaching this special needs adult basketball team, and he's like, no thanks, nope, don't want to do it. And his lawyer's like, you understand the other option here is jail time, right? And he's like, yeah, can't be that bad. The judge is like, it's going to be, like 5 years. And okay, I'll coach. That's how he begrudgingly goes. But he ends up taking on the challenge. And the challenge wasn't the team. The challenge was himself and his view of the team. And really ultimately the view of himself. Right, he had to get outside of himself, and when he did, he started not only did he start to flourish, but the people around him started to flourish.
Ooh, that's good. It's one of my favorite plot lines or conflicts. We talk about the different types of conflict. Don't quiz me right now, and I might be rusty, but man versus himself is an interesting one. I think that introspection is something we all go through, and I'm going to have to check that one out. So it's called The Champions with Woody Harrelson.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
It's a good one. And like the plot line isn't going to be anything you haven't seen before. It's a pretty popular, get into trouble, redeem story kind of a deal.
Yep.
You'll see with like Coach Bombay of the Mighty Ducks.
Ayo.
But it's said through a little different way. And if you're like me, I just like to look at these characters and these storylines and really start to like, how does that play out in society? What is that character really going through?
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a gray area there that people just don't explore when they watch media that they should, because you learn a lot.
Yeah, the relation to characters, narrative. Man, we love narrative, don't we? Why is it that so many coaches start? I mean, I don't feel like we get many examples of coaches. Well, maybe we do. Some coaches that have it all together. I'm thinking like, remember the Titans, Coach Carter, maybe Miracle. Okay, they got it together, right? And then you have these other stories where coaches are kind of washouts, and then the coaching becomes their salvation kind of idea. You think of the Champions or Hardball or Mighty Ducks. I'm gonna have to think about that now. It's interesting. I haven't thought of that angle before. Okay. We need more coaches, sounds like. Whether you want to go to jail time or coach, that might be your only See, we need more stakes. So if we have a coaching shortage, this is what we need to do. Oh, man.
Exactly. There we go. Well, we do have a referee shortage, so maybe we should start sentencing small petty crimes to be served of refereeing esports.
Maybe I'm like Woody Harrelson's character. I think I'd rather jail can't be that bad because refereeing is terrible. Thank you, referees, because umping is brutal. I love all the referees. That's why I'm not hard on referees anymore, because once you referee once, you're like, oh,
yeah. Maybe we'll stop getting so many parents giving refs guff if we got some refs out there with face tattoos.
All it would really take is, no kidding, is one play. Like, you just got to get out there for one hitter or one sequence. Like, I would literally hand the whistle away. Like, that'd be awesome. Like, we need more of that.
Yeah.
It should be institute a rule. Every youth sports league. Hey, if you complain, you get the whistle for an entire play. You got to run up and down. God, that's
love it. I love it.
All right. Well, digressing from our what do you call it? Reform of youth sports through refereeing and coaching. We have our flow trigger of the week. So now flow triggers are your preconditions that lead to more flow. And these are the different, I would call them ingredients that you can sprinkle into what you're already doing. And remember, the goal of this is to have 6 or 7 in a singular game or drill or environment. And we can talk about the structure and style of these, but we just like to highlight one each week, bring some awareness around it, maybe some tips and tricks, how you can use it, and get a little bit better, drive a little focus and performance and productivity with your teams or in your own practice as well. So the one we have this week is an internal flow trigger called clear goals. All right, clear goals is the flow trigger. Now, most people seem to focus on goals versus clear, and I'd like to distinguish that. So clear goals is the smallest unit of a goal. Above that we have like a high hard goal versus like your big mission level goal. But this is like what you're doing right now in this moment. It's an internal flow trigger, previously called psychological. And the trick to this is to get nitty and gritty with time and numbers. So I would recommend, humbly, to copy something like CrossFit. Now, if you're not familiar with CrossFit, they have all these different types of workouts, and they have the different types of workouts like AMRAPs, or which is as many rounds as possible, or lift this amount of weight, or this rep scheme. Is hit as many barrels. So that would be like a line drive, and that's even subjective a little bit, but hit as many barrels as possible in 10 swings. So instead of just walking up and hitting BP, some batting practice, getting into the box and saying, okay, you have 10 hits, like swings. Of those 10, how many barrels can you get? That's clear. So instead of just saying, I'm going to swing, okay, we're going to do whatever. Say, how many can you get? And that's what you get to clear. I'm going to write 250 words. I'm going to scrimmage for 3 minutes. Who's winning after 3 minutes? Or who's got the momentum? Whatever it is. So, Jake, anything you'd like to take away from the clear goals trigger, this internal flow trigger to drive performance? Anything you see?
It's great to keep competition in practice. It's really great if you're doing team activities for each team to have a clear goal. If they're playing against each other, to have a clear goal. I utilize it a lot in, for me, soccer coach, technical training, right? So if they're working on passing, we're trying to accomplish how many passes. We're going to go for a minute. Who's going to accomplish the most passes in that 1 minute? So there's a very clear, defined goal, and it really re-engages the kid's mind. And when you add that competition, you'll be surprised how much the level rises just in terms of effort.
Yep.
It doesn't mean every pass is going to be perfect, but their focus picks up, their effort level picks up, and when those two things happen, you're going to get better quality of repetition going on with the kids.
Correct. And remember, flow triggers do one of, they say 3 things, but it's removes complexity and it drives focus into the now. So if you say, okay, let's use your soccer example, it's one thing to just pass, right? You just pass. We don't have a defined target. We don't have a defined time frame, and kids just kind of loaf because, I'm just kicking, right? And there is a place for that, right? You need some time to play, some freedom there. But if we're actually going to get better, you need to say, okay, we're going to do this for 30 seconds. They know when the beginning is and the end is, and then you go for it around 1 and you come back to it and you can see the difference between those and you can measure that improvement. And I know it seems so simple, and flow triggers are not necessarily that complicated, but they are high octane ingredients. Like, whoa, think of like spicy. Like you throw a little bit of red pepper flakes into something. You're like, okay, that's got a kick. That's what it does to your drill. And it's basically, it's like a cheat code. Flow triggers are cheat codes. That's all I'll say. All right. Well, give that a go this week. And even if you're a parent, that would be something to do, is like, hey, focus on one thing one thing today, one thing this week, that you can get better. Measure that sucker. All right. Last section. What caught our eyes? This is our interesting section. What we saw that was interesting. A couple things maybe each, or whatever came across our eyes in this world of youth sports and beyond. Do you want to go first or second on this? What do you got?
I'll go second.
Okay. So I have 2 this week, and they're pretty different, but 2 things that kind of warmed my heart. So the first one is cribbage. And there was an article I came across with Rowdy Tellez and the Milwaukee Brewers. And instead of being on their phones and instead of playing video games, which I'm not against video games, Rowdy Tellez and his teammates are playing cribbage. So when they got some downtime, Rowdy's taking everybody to task. And he said he wants to play Terry Francona and others, but analog board games and card games are a great way to build team chemistry, really low key on the recovery, but just enough to where it gauges your attention. Great. I would say I'm an average cribbage player. I haven't memorized the hands like other people have. How are you on cribbage? Are you a cribbage guy?
I'm not a cribbage guy. No. My wife tries to get me to play multiple times a year. I can't get into it. And honestly, my dad is a big cribbage player. My dad's family is a big cribbage player. But like every cribbage player I come across, they'll be like, hey, you play cribbage? Yeah, I play cribbage. Okay, do you want to play a game of cribbage? And every time, well, I'll kick your butt, but sure. Like the most arrogant group of people are cribbage people. I don't get it. They're always stating how much they're going to kick the other person's butt in a card game. Every last one of them. The pride associated with the game of cribbage, I just can't. It's got to be like one of the 7 deadly. It's part of one of the 7 deadly sins at this point in time to play cribbage, because the pride sinks its teeth into cribbage players.
The narcissism. It's like when you know you're good and you just can't hold it back.
But they all know that they're good. I don't get it. They
Man.
all do. So it makes that like entry into the game feel impossible. Because my wife like, I'll teach you to play. I know for a fact every time she beats me, she's gonna let me know. But there's just no way that she's gonna be like, oh, good try. You're learning. Good job. Keep going. It's gonna be like, oh, it's your first game. You suck. I'm so much better than you. But there's a very hard shell of entry into the game of cribbage for me. Yep. So I've just left it alone.
Oh man. Okay. Well, is there a game you would play? Like, I'm just talking about games in general. What game would you play as you're like waiting for a soccer game? You play a game, you have to wait for an hour, and then you're going to play another. What would you do? Like, what would be the game of choice or experience of choice?
My family and I are big sequence players. We love sequence. If we just had a deck of cards, I would say maybe hearts. I enjoy hearts. Or spades. It's probably where we would settle on. I mean, if I just got my kids with me, that might be a little bit too complex for them. So go fish, which is always a fun time. But that's no go zone for me.
Okay. Oh, and the only other thing I had from this week was Jimmy Butler. I am a huge Jimmy Butler fan. And as this pauses for a second, we're good. We're lagging just a shade. Jimmy Butler was in an article, and he absolutely struggled through his trajectory. He came from nowhere. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this in the industriousness is how did Jimmy Butler become Jimmy Butler was more or less what the article was about. And Jimmy, a lot of successful people are running to something as much as they're running from something. And Jimmy's point was, I'm not going back there. And I love that. So he never got it easy. Every step of the way, from JUCO to Marquette to the Bulls to, that's where he got his grit, post-ecstatic growth. He struggled, and that became his calling card. I love players who have that, team first, work hard, chip on their shoulder. And so I'm really cheering for the Heat. I love Jimmy Butler. I think the Sixers should have kept him instead of Ben Simmons. The Wolves should have kept him first. So should have the Bulls. But Miami's benefiting from Jimmy Butler. So story of grit, story of redemption, story of working hard. I love Jimmy Butler. That's the interesting thing I came across this week.
All right. I'd say maybe the most interesting or / good story that I came across was Carlos Correa. Carlos Correa has been booed by Minnesota Twins fans as of recently because he makes a lot of money, and I think he was batting under 200 at this point in the season.
Correct.
And so the media asked him about it. They asked him about, how do you feel about being booed? And his response was very like, I'd boo me too, essentially. And this seems to be a more common comeback from athletes when they get booed. Like, yeah, I get it. I totally get it. There's an acceptance of their performance, which, I would say he's embracing the suck, if you will. He's leaning into the challenge that's in front of him. For us, we have challenges, but most of the time those challenges are really with us and a very small group of people. Currently, he's having a challenge in front of a large amount of strangers, right? Like, we're afraid to get up on stage sometimes and start talking, and this guy is trying to perform in front of an entire nation in a lot of respects. So he came out and owned it, and next day comes out, hits a 2-run double to win the ball game, 5-3 for the Twins over the Padres. So just a great story, I think, of owning the suffering that's going on, not running from it, and then being able to deliver, right? But the hard part of an athlete now is, okay, you delivered once, you're expected to deliver tomorrow too, and the day after that, and the day after that. You're only as good as your most recent performance, right?
Amen. And on a more superficial and selfish level, he is on my fantasy baseball team, and a huge reason I am not just 1 or 2 or 3. I am 0-5. He is a notoriously slow starter, and he's relaxed. I get it. But Correa, give me something, buddy. Like, come on. Like, at least your weight. Like, just be passable at this point. I cannot drop you for what is on the waiver wire at the moment. Come on. I get it. Because what he's going to do is he's going to go off in July and August, but I'm going to be digging my way out of Donut Lord land. That it's not going to matter. So, good Lord. We have a bet this week.
It's really...
Huh?
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
Well, no, I have a bet this week that it's 2 0-5 teams, and the team that loses has to change their name to Donut Lord. And king of the donuts, cake donuts, chocolate cake donuts. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
It's very interesting how different fans' perception of value versus an owner or a GM's perception of value is. That's what my thought was. Fans are very much, what did you do for me today? Owners are saying, well, our jersey sales are up, our ticket sales are up. You're bringing in whatever in terms of ad revenue. We love you. The GM saying, well, you've hit 280 over your career. You've hit X amount of bombs. Yeah, I'm not concerned. That's where you're going to get. That's who you are. And the fans are like, but you didn't do it today. And I think it's a very interesting relationship that those three individual or those three groups have with each other. And the athlete is just stuck in there in between trying to manage all of those different relationships, right? And that's obviously that's gross career, but it'd be a good discussion to be had on a youth athlete, right? The expectations of the coach, and there's the expectations of the parents, the expectations of the teammates. And they're trying to balance all of those. And when one of those becomes out of balance, awful big ask for a 12-year-old to try and figure out how to navigate that.
Jake, I'm just trying to get to 1 and 5.
More pressing.
Yes to what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
obviously. I mean,
get you to 1 and 5.
Yeah, like the Twins beating the Yankees, so secondary to whether I'm 1 and 5 in my tiny little fantasy baseball league. But well,
You just need to start picking up whoever's starting against the Twins. That's what you need to do. Start picking up whoever's starting against the Twins.
I have this thing where I don't like Yankees on my team, Jake, so forget about it.
Or better yet, just look at the waiver wire, figure out who's playing the A's, and then pick up all their guys. Just start the entire lineup that's playing against the A's every single week.
That'd be awesome. I could map that out. So that's success this week. Play against the A's, metaphorically or literally. But no, wish you a great week. Take your gratitude, your smack talk. Check out the standard. We'll put that in the description. Also, use that flow trigger clear goals, and be on the lookout for anything interesting. I hope you have a good week too, buddy, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.
Bye.